Buongiorno tutti, welcome to the Banker's Bookshelf. I am Paolo Sironi, and I'm pleased today to host a conversation with Daniel Trabucchi, the author of The Digital Phoenix Effect. The Digital Phoenix Effect is a book about platform economy that he wrote with Tommaso Boganza. They are both teachers, professors at the Politecnico di Milano Engineering University, very renowned. And this book is very interesting. And you know my passion for the platform economy because it's a mix of theory and practice. And I'm very happy that they accepted the invitation to be part of the Banker's Bookshelf because I'm sure this will be a very valuable conversation for all of us. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Paolo, thank you so much for having me on the show. Hi, everyone listening and watching the show.
Daniel, we hosted quite a few authors on the platform economy already, but this book has its own specific elements, and I was very pleased to read and to be inspired. So let's start with an elevator speech. Why should the Banker's Bookshelf audience read The Digital Phoenix Effect?
This is not another book on platforms talking about startups, but it's an innovation book talking about executive managers in legacy firms. It's talking about the problems that platform models can solve for legacy organizations without looking for something new, but actually finding a way to reframe the asset they already own. And here is where the title is coming from. Like Phoenix actually are raising from their ashes, we are seeing new business opportunities, new innovation opportunities emerging from the assets that legacy companies already have.
I actually like this cut. I work with a lot of startups as well as incumbent organizations in financial services, and quite a number of them orchestrated their own platform play. So there is a possibility for an incumbent to engage in a platform economy. Sometimes they can totally transform themselves. Other times they can add a platform play on the side of a more traditional business. So the book opens effectively with three examples of three interesting incumbent institutions, one in financial services, AXA, the insurance group, one in industrial production, Siemens from Germany, and then you also have Eni, energy company in Italy. So let's review these three examples that belong to different industrial or commercial segments to understand what these incumbents did to dive into the platform economy or to go back to life as a phoenix, okay, from the ashes or from the complexities of a linear business to be successful in a platform world. Shall we start with AXA?
Yes, absolutely. Just a comment before diving into the example. I just want to highlight something that made us very, very proud. They are three European cases. And, the platform economy is US branded with Airbnb, Uber, Amazon, Apple, and all the others. And probably Asia Pacific, quite relevant with TikTok and WeChat and so on and so forth. I believe as Europeans, we have a certain amount of space in the platform economy, especially for our legacy firms. And so I'm very happy to have three European countries represented in these opening chapters. And I also need to say that none of them replaced the original business model. They are all integration. And I think this might be a bit less disruptive, probably. It's not a great title on a newspaper, but I think it can be a very effective strategy in the medium term to have, another side, another piece of your business model that is working, let me say, through the rules of the new economy and not just following the traditional economy rules.
I actually picked up, you said in the medium term, yes. A platform strategy is not for the next quarter. In recent research that I published from the IBM Institute for Business Value and Embedded Finance, we saw that on average, the orchestration of platforms requires 6 years really to exert the real business value that wanted to be generated. So it's a strategic play, but it's not necessarily a play that is incompatible with an existing business. Right. So companies can find a way to carve out from what they do a platform economy definition, an engagement with the ecosystem that can be beneficial to the previous business or even create new opportunities. So, first of all, what did AXA do in order to develop a platform solution? Why did they do that?
Well, why did they do that is the best question, I think. And the short answer is climate change. Climate change is making the insurance model, not for AXA, but for all the insurance company, a risky model, because everything is based on historical data, on the ability to anticipate the risk profile and therefore price the events, and therefore having a product to be sold to customers. Those models, unfortunately, are becoming more and more risky because those data are not that as reliable anymore. So one of the elements they have in their strategy to cope with this is AXA Digital Commercial Platform. I'll make it simple. It's a marketplace targeting their business customers, where they can get products and services from other companies to mitigate certain risk. So instead of having an insurance on a potential bad event, they actually do something concrete to reduce the potential impact of that risk or to reduce directly the probability of happening. The interesting thing is that they see this transaction and they understand from the behaviors of their business customers the willingness of these companies to invest or not invest, to pay or not to pay, to reduce those risks rather than others. And these are precious information that can help them in revising the models we were talking about before to see new pricing strategies, for example, on their traditional products. So you see, as the products can even be integrated one into the other, a platform product like this one with the more traditional insurances they sell.
I like this example because I actually met the head of commercial banking of a Brazilian bank, not just mentioning for confidentiality, but they launched last year a platform for the supply chain of small and medium enterprises. And the reason for that was not because they wanted to make money on the transactions, but how is a commercial banker successful in his own career? They need to lend more for lower risk, which is complicated, especially if you own a market. So the what they thought is that by understanding what happens in an ecosystem of small and medium enterprises, buying and selling the one to the other, they will be capable of improving the quality of the risk models so that they will be more comfortable to lend to the market, right, for a more deliberate risk. So this is a place where the interest of the company is not necessarily to make money on the platform interplay, but to use it to understand an ecosystem and improve a more traditional business, which is very powerful because many CEOs are sort of scared or concerned about the platform economy. They think it's different from them. In reality, it's something that can live and breathe within or next to their existing business. Now, another example, let's move into Siemens if we can. So I'm actually streaming from Germany today. We have this industrial giant. What did they do to basically create something in the platform economy?
Yeah, if you would have asked why again, why is
Let's start with the why.
digitalization? Is digitalization. Siemens is one of the biggest and strongest hardware company we got in our continent. But now the competition is on hardware and software.
Okay.
And for a hardware giant becoming a software leader, it's difficult. It's a challenge. And they've done it. They've done it in many ways. They've already been successful. But they were lacking in having actually a company view on that and not a silos view on that. So that division is doing well with that project, that one is doing kind of well with that one. So they created Siemens Accelerator, the one and only platform for all the Siemens products. So they put at the center, not the customers, as in the case of AXA with the business customers, they put at the center their own products, the hardware, as Apple did 20 years ago, putting at the center the phone. They put at the center their product and they open it up to external providers, small, medium, extremely large enterprises that are wishing to develop software and services on top of their products. So they created, it's an open innovation initiative to a certain extent that get together with a marketplace embedded in the hardware. So their history becomes an install base open to potentially anyone in the world. Just to give you a name, in Sim Accelerator, there is NVIDIA. So you can have small companies that are great in developing services and software that join the giants that have a huge install base with hardware, or you have companies coming from other sectors that may have something to do or to say in the servitization of these products. And as you said, it's not a short-term investment. The project was launched, the platform was launched 2-3 years ago, I would say now. And the target, we don't still have the numbers because they are looking to that type of horizon to actually make it work, and it's growing a lot.
So then, very interesting. So far, we said AXA is an example where they orchestrated the interaction among final consumers, being companies or individuals, of mitigation opportunities for environmental and climate change, and they learn through the data how to improve their own products that intersect that business. Siemens instead leverage the platform economy from the innovation perspective, putting their product at the center, building an ecosystem around those products so that they could basically excel in the software space while they typically are a hardware-oriented company. And what about Eni, this energy company from Europe?
Eni did something that, in our opinion, is brilliant. And the starting point here is sustainability. We go back a bunch of years in a moment in which, in any boardroom, there were discussion on how to become more sustainable, especially from an environmental perspective. And in the energy field, one of the pressure they had the most was actually to evaluate the sustainability level of the whole supply chain. And usually you do that by asking your supplier either to get a certification or to be available for an audit. These are the two alternatives. Either you like the certification as it is done, and probably your supplier won't love that, or you take the cost and the burden of getting an audit system in place. In Eni, they had another idea. They said, what if we create an environment that can get us the data we need, the sustainability level of each supplier, but we transform this in an opportunity for them to become more sustainable. They created, along with BCG and Google Cloud, they are the three original partners, an initiative that is called OpenS, that is a marketplace with no transactions involved. It's not for revenues, it's not for profit, where the suppliers initially of any could actually meet a number of trainers, certificators, consultants, and whatsoever dealing with sustainability with the aim to help them becoming more sustainable, starting from a sustainability score that is defined by the platform given a number of questions and tests and so on and so forth. Then they were brilliant enough to create a coalition around it and to open it to the suppliers of other companies, Saipem, Snam, and many others. There are hundreds of companies there now. And they created this gigantic platform that is behind the scene. It was born for a support service that is the purchasing, and with a very specific need of the purchasing office that was the sustainability score, and they transformed it into an innovation opportunity. As you said, not even looking for revenues in this case. This is a reduced cost and an innovation opportunity that may generate other type of return in the future.
That's
And
very
you do.
interesting. Yes, Danny, that's very interesting because these three examples that open the book are very different, but very telling because we said AXA learned through the platform in template they created um, things that enable them to improve their financial products. So it's not that the platform itself generated revenues, but improving the products that could get a good economic benefit in the end. Then we have Siemens. Siemens wanted to integrate a software excellence into an hardware excellence. So they use the platform to invite an ecosystem of people working on software, on the software side, to basically improve the product that otherwise they would not have been able to improve the way they wanted by themselves. And the third example is Eni. The scope is not revenues per se, but is the improvement of the sustainability profile. And that happens through the ecosystem that is made of the whole supply chain, enabling everybody to basically contribute and participate. Now, we said that the platform strategy is not a short-term strategy. It's not about the next quarter or the next year. It takes a bit longer. And we need to have clarity on the various phases that participate to the creation of these opportunities. And you identify 4 phases in your book. And which are these phases?
um, we decided to change a bit the approach to research. Instead of observing, we tried to make something. We worked with almost 30 companies over the last 3 years, and we designed this process to make platform thinking real. The 4 phases are framing. First of all, why do you want to do platform thinking? Why do you want to a platform strategy? What type of problem are you trying to solve or opportunity you are trying to achieve? Where are you doing that? Is a new business model? To a certain extent, Siemens is enlarging its business model, having a product-based and a service-based business model. AXA, as we said, it's working on its main primary activity with this side model that generates data for the original business model, while Eni is behind the scene, having very clear where are you in the original value chain, in the original company. It's very important.
Good. It starts with clarity, right?
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
framing brings business
yeah,
clarity, okay, in
and
front of everyone.
a clear goal for this
Clear the
initiative.
goal.
And
Now,
we
how
went
do you turn this into something? Is a design phase?
exactly. Design phase is the second one. When Airbnb and Uber became famous 10, 15 years ago, everyone wanted to do the Airbnb of something because it looked like you just put up a marketplace with demand and offer and the platform is done. I'm sorry, that's not true. The design phase actually try to unfold what's behind the scene. You need multiple value propositions. You need multiple functionalities for any type of customers that join that type of platform that needs to be interlinked between them to generate cross-site network externalities and so on and so forth. So the whole design phase enters into the details of how platform work, even learning from the success of those platforms. And this brings to the ignition phase.
Okay, so we said the first phase is the framing. So you scope the goal and the real motivation. The second is the design. So it's not so simple. You need to be very clear about how you want to orchestrate the ecosystem and the interplay. But then you need to start the engine. So you need to ignite the platform economy. So how does that work?
There are quite old research saying that 95% of transactional platform of marketplace fails within the first 5 years. The ignition is so important because you need to activate the network effect. So you need to make sure that both sides, both type of customers are on board at the same time. And also here, you need to make sure that you have specific tactics for both the typologies, deciding when happens what and where so that the thing starts reacting.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe it's very important to have these clear in mind from the very beginning, even though you are going to then approach it in an agile way. But dedicating a bit of time in finding an ignition plan, it's very important in our opinion.
That's good. So now we framed it, we designed it, we ignited the platform, but is it growing? So the growth is the last phase.
Yes, growth doesn't just mean numbers. That just doesn't just mean that you have 1 million customers you want to get to 5. It means that after the core interaction started in the platform, I do expect other things to happen there. Other type of sites, other type of customers to join the platform, other type of transactions, other type of data flow, other type of services, that value added services that can be added to one side or to the other. Airbnb brought in the experiences. Booking brought in the cars and the flights. Uber brought in the restaurants. All big successful platforms didn't stop their platform design when they became successful. It was just the first phase then. And that's the type of mindset we try to bring in from the very beginning, also when you do that from a legacy firm perspective.
So Daniel, let me say that most likely the phoenix is a curious bird because wants to, be reborn from the ashes of a previous business model, an existing one, and delve into the platform economy. But that requires a continuous experimentation and being very curious to look for opportunities that they might be realized through the platform that haven't been seen before, that creates more positive effects that support the success of the platform. Now, we discussed about these phases. We explained through AXA, Siemens, and Eni, the 3 major phases that you identified in this book about how incumbents can generate value in the platform economy. And the book concludes with generative AI and a co-thinker opportunity. But we could not close this podcast without talking about generative AI, of course. So what does it get to do with the platform economy?
This is actually the beginning of our next research. We are trying to understand how Gen AI can enable platforms in an easier way within organization, especially internal platforms. What is presented in the book was the very first experiment. I presented you the 4 phases. Those 4 phases take place in design thinking workshops. So we productized a set of cards, but still the complexity level is quite important. And we thought, and actually the numbers are said that it was a good guess, that Gen AI could offer a great support through the workshop, to get examples, to get definitions on the platform word while you go through the various steps. But more importantly, it can be leveraged as a co-thinker. So instead of asking, hey, ChatGPT, I'm developing a platform for whatever company I'm working for. Can you give me ideas? We created a MyGPT that doesn't answer to this type of question, but force you to ask the question in the other way around. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm working in that company with these characteristics. I'm thinking about developing a platform for this reason, and this is the type of platform I'm working on. What's not working? What are the critical elements that you see there? Since the GPT has been trained with an extensive knowledge on platform, it allows you finding some blind spots or critical issues that you as a designer in that moment don't see. And the companies that work with us on this were very happy about it.
It seems that I just learned that I lost one of my favorite jobs through generative AI because I've been working within the fintech ecosystem for multiple years, maybe more than a decade, I guess, with various startups. And every time I meet an entrepreneur, typically I don't ask, okay, why is your idea good? I ask them, where and how do you believe you would not be successful? Because the clarity about the obstacles means that they've been thinking about, the ways of mitigating those problems instead of just being emphatic on the business opportunities. The business plan is always positive, right? So being critical about your idea is what strengthen your opportunity to succeed. And I like this idea that being the platform economy, a very different type of business, you can find also in generative AI opportunities to build a critical thinking that in any case, Daniel Trabucchi and Tommaso Boganza put on your desk if you will dare reading, and I recommend you to do so, The Digital Phoenix Effect. Now, Daniel, thank you very much for having participated to this episode of the Banker's Bookshelf. The Digital Phoenix Effect is my book recommendation for this month, and I invite you all to buy it, read it, and comment online. Daniel, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Bye, everyone.
So I remind everybody, the Banker's Bookshelf is our monthly opportunity to meet the most interesting authors and researchers of books and publications about the banking present and its fintech future. If you want to be notified politely about our new episodes, you just have to subscribe on your favorite platform. We stream on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, on Amazon Music. We are on YouTube, podcast and video. Please do so. Thank you very much for having attended this episode. Enjoy the jingle.